Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, I'm trying to figure out how much of an influencer I really am. And sadly, it doesn't seem like I'm going to be able to monetize all that much off of my Twitter and Instagram posts. But, if anyone wants to pay me, I'm available. At me, please. At me. Slide into my DMs.
Pay you for what?
Being an influencer.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
One of the leading thought leaders of our time. Is that
Of,
is that not is not that not how you view me? That's how I view me.
I when you say you categorize yourself as an influencer, from my experience with you, there are times where you have been a bad influence, more probably more often than a good influence. Sometimes you're just an agnostic influence, like neither good nor bad.
Hmm.
But there have been some bad influences. We won't go into it here, of course, but I guess be careful what you pay for out there, people. If you're looking for Tom Moore to be your voice, the voice of your product, um, and that's a great segue, Tom, because today's show is all about name, image, and likeness. We were at on the Ohio State campus for an in-person press conference for the first time, Tom, since I believe March 2nd, 2020. Boy, has the time flown. It seems like it was just yesterday where we were there on campus. And so we were there to hear from Ohio State Senator Niraj Antani and Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith to talk about the the bill being put forth by Antani regarding name, image, and likeness, trying to get it passed and in place by July 1st, which would fall in line with what some of the other states have done. And so this is the beginning of that. And sure seems like a long time coming. Gene Smith said like they started talking about this or he back in like 2001, but because of the competitive nature of the people in the NCAA and like the coaches, athletic directors, whatever, got scrapped for what forever. But it is here now, Tom, and I don't know. It I was shocked by how little there is in this bill in terms of rules and regulations. I think there's enough there for structure, but other than that, there's all bets are off almost on what can happen here.
Yeah, it is just a very vague framework that basically says like what the school can't do or what the NCAA can't do. And beyond that, it's like YOLO. It's just go ahead and do whatever you want. I mean, there are very few limitations. Student athletes can't get endorsements for alcohol and tobacco and gambling, like casinos. I mean, just a few, marijuana, a few small areas. Other than that, it's pretty much just whatever. And it the whole bill is designed to not allow the NCAA to put any sort of restrictions in place on student athletes. So it's instead of being like, here's what student athletes can and can't do, it's just NCAA, like, sorry, your time is done here. And, as personally, as someone who, will say I have mixed feelings about the NCAA on the whole, enthusiastic two thumbs up on this one. Like, yes, go ahead. My favorite part of this hasn't happened yet. My favorite part of this is when Mark Emmert comes out and says, listen, 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 we want to do this. You guys can't rush us. We can't listen. We can't rush this out. We can't, you can't make us, hurry this to market. Like you have to give us time. And it's like, brother, the last 100 years or so when you've been saying like, this is impossible. Like, yeah, that was the time when you had to do that. Like now it's over. Now the grownups are in charge. Like, sorry. So go ahead and step to the side. And now the players can make money. So yeah, there are still a bunch of hurdles to climb and hurdles to clear. I don't think you climb hurdles.
Well,
I was never in track, but
you're not
my
going to
impression,
win.
yeah, my impression was not that you climbed hurdles, you cleared them, but that's okay. Yeah, there are still hurdles to clear. There's still stuff that theoretically the NCAA could pass something in June that Gene Smith talked about. Theoretically, the federal government could do something that might be sort of like a national standard, but barring some kind of real significant court decision, this is coming July 1st, and now all of a sudden it seems like it might be coming in Ohio as well.
And Gene Smith said there will be a period of chaos before there is a federal rule or an NCAA rule. There was a point where Niraj Antani was asked, or it was suggested to him and Gene Smith, like somebody said, say this doesn't pass. And Antani was like, it will pass. Like, he was adamant that this is going to pass. So at this point, I guess we should assume it will. He said he'll be able to get the votes for it. And then it happens July 1st. And it would seem like then the money will be flowing. And that is the fact that it won't just be Ohio, it's other states. This will force the NCAA's hand. Like, they can't not do anything, because what this does, as you were saying, it takes the power away from the NCAA. That's like the main thing this does, is you can't punish players for making money off their name, image, and likeness. And so the way the NCAA gets around that is to, we'll make our rule. And as Gene Smith said on Monday, like, he was part of the committee that put forth the suggestions to the NCAA. The NCAA was like, well, we don't, like, I don't know if they decided they didn't like it and they would revote in like June or July. They'd shelve it. And Gene Smith felt like it should have been passed at that point. And I think it will probably eventually be passed here, and Emmert will say something like, I was for it before I was again it, and now I'm for it again. And so it's I can't imagine being in a state with a major university, major sports entity, and having other states with it. You're there, like, we're going to die. Like, our competitive abilities are going to go away if you don't allow something. So I think I would expect the NCAA to pass something here and approve when the vote is up.
They almost have to, because if you don't, then you run the risk of having 50 different laws on the books. And 50 different laws is just an invitation to just complete chaos and just Thunderdome for the NCAA. If they pass something that allows some kind of name, image, and likeness for, right now there's 16 states that have something. If Ohio passes 17, you got to figure there's some others. So figure 20, 25 have passed it by July 1st. If you pass something that allows the other 25 states to do something, then at least there's like kind of a level playing field, kind of like there's going to be differences. Unfortunately, the NCAA had the opportunity to do something about this several years ago, even in January, and just chose to once again kick the can, because the NCAA is a bunch of, have we said the phrase feckless turds on this podcast before?
Just in describing the show.
Okay. All right. Well, the NCAA are a bunch of feckless turds. So they did what they always do, which is, we'll figure that out sometime down the line. Like, nope. And now you've lost control. You have lost control of the situation. And now they can maybe try and get some semblance of control back by at least putting something out there. So it's just like, oh, well, it's slightly different, but we're still, look at me, I'm the captain now. Like, no. That's not, we're well past that point. So it is going to be interesting to see. They have to do something, because otherwise you have 50 different standards in 50 different states. And, there are material differences here. Georgia passed the law where there's the student athletes have to put 75% in like a trust fund or like into escrow, something like that. And then it'll kind of get distributed to other people. Well, compared to Ohio, which is, if the bill passes as it's written right now, you don't have that. Like, that's potentially a significant disadvantage for Georgia. And there are other restrictions, maybe Alabama, maybe they can endorse alcohol or weed or casinos or whatever. And so that would put Ohio at a disadvantage compared to Alabama. There are a million different things. And this is the real danger zone for the NCAA, is if there are 50 different sets of rules, it basically is impossible to enforce anything. And, they're going to complain and crab about how, oh, this is so terrible. It's like, you had so many opportunities to do something about us, and all you did was tell us how this was completely impossible. Well, turns out it's possible, and literally everyone else has done it. So, this is, if you get to the point where there are 50 different sets of rules, the clock is ticking. It is like 2 minutes to midnight in terms of the NCAA is no longer a thing. And now there's some other sport, other governing body governing the college sports landscape. That feels like it's coming because it feels like the NCAA has like lost control of this whole thing. And I've had Dan Lust on the Morning Scoop a couple times to talk about NIL because I don't feel like people understand how big a deal this is and why this is such a significant moment. And it's like this is here, like this is like a month away from happening, and this is going to be like a seminal moment in college sports coming in the next month, and maybe the NCAA can do something about it, but honestly, it may be too late for them.
Well, and I would expect them to just lay some basic ground rules, and then everybody else try to take advantage of them as best they can, just as they do with all of their, everything that the NCAA lays down. It's not like it's uniform now in terms of what schools do. They all do basically 50 different things in terms of I'm going to allocate the money to the training facilities, allocate money to the coaching staff. Like there are ground rules, and then parameters kind of get stretched out. You do put stuff wherever you want. I think you could still do that in having different state rules with a sort of ground rule set by the NCAA or the federal government, although the federal may supersede everything. But here with the Ohio bill, it supersedes anything that the NCAA says, renders them, neuters them a little bit. And that's why I think you would get the NCAA to create something, and then you would just build off that, go from there, and take as much advantage of that NCAA rule, just you take as much advantage of every other NCAA rule that you can. And that was one of the things that Gene Smith said. It's like you're still going to have haves and have nots. This isn't you're not eliminating amateurism, but you are still creating this chasm between the top 10, 15, 20 programs in the nation and bottom 100. This does nothing to alleviate that. And that's not the purpose of it. It's to allow student athletes to benefit from who they are. And a lot of these guys are this before they ever get to campus. Trevor Lawrence before he was ever at Clemson. He was carrying with him a name. He's a rarity. And so we were talking before the show about CJ Stroud and what influencers can make. Justin Fields has what you said,
870,000 Instagram followers or something like that,
which can command upwards of, what did we say, like
$50,000 a post, something like that.
Yeah, so that's not where CJ Stroud or the Ohio State starting quarterback would be initially, but even still, we did our math, CJ Stroud's his 38,000 Instagram followers or whatever would still allow him to make $400 or $500 a post, and that's not going anywhere. That's not going to Easton and albeit Barnes and Noble selling, magazines or whatever. It's like they don't have to do anything, and I don't know what's wrong with that. Like I don't. There's this panic. There's this idea that that's gonna kill the college game. I still think the college game is why these guys are able to make the money. So that golden goose, I think, will be okay, because without the goose, there's no gold.
Right. The idea that this is going to kill college football is like, well, college football is healthy enough right now that the guy who was the quarterback for Ohio State last year could have made like $50,000 to $100,000 per Instagram post. That tells me people care about college football to at least some degree. The fact that you're making, go back 10 years, what were schools making in terms of TV revenue? What are they making now? They're making like $57 million a year in the Big Ten. Like that tells me there's at least some interest in college football on a national level. Like I think it's going to be okay. And that's something Gene Smith said. And Gene Smith, he is not someone who is going to come out and just say, listen, these people are stupid morons and they're liars and they're morons. Those are words I will say. Those are not words that Gene Smith will say. But what he said was, you go back to like the cost of attendance debate, and it was like, oh no, this will be literally, not like figuratively, literally the end of the world if we allow cost of attendance, because some schools will give more money than other people, and then there will be an imbalance in college football recruiting. Like, well, okay, well, turns out schools don't just, no one is like, oh no, you need $100,000 for books. Like, turns out that's not actually how this works. So what if we just let people earn money? What if that was okay? Because this seems like one of these things that you can't get anyone on the political left and the political right to agree on literally anything right now. This seems like one of these things that if you were on the political right, like this seems like a free market thing, like that should be okay with you. And if you are on the political left, like, hey, this seems like these people who are making not very much money, and there's a bunch of people who are making a bunch of money. Seems like you want to lift up the people who are not making much money. This seems like something that we can all kind of come together on, and we can all agree on. And what if we stopped arguing with each other for a minute, and stopped yelling and calling each other names? And what if we just said, hey, what if we just let the students make some money on their name, image, and likeness, which they have worked extremely hard to get to? I mean, Gene Smith talked about not just like football players and basketball players. There are a lot of student athletes who have an opportunity to make a lot of money right now. Here's one example that he didn't give. I'm just going to give this. I coach youth softball, so I'm going to give a softball example because that is a Olympic sport. Okay, if you are a college softball pitcher and you go back to your hometown during the summer, right now you cannot advertise, I would offer pitching lessons to youth softball pitchers. Hypothetically, let's just say that this is you're a college softball pitcher and you want to just go home and earn whatever, $30-$40 for a half-hour lesson to a youth softball pitcher. You can't advertise that. Some people might go do that under the table, and it's like a little bit of a word of mouth thing, but it is against NCAA rules for you to take your softball talents and your coaching abilities to help youth softball players and earn a little bit of money on the side. That is currently illegal. Just take the next 10 seconds and think. Let's just sit in silence for 5 seconds, okay? And think about how weapons grade stupid that is. Okay? Ready? Okay, good. So now we're all on the same page. So, but if you're a swimmer, if you are a field hockey player, if you are a volleyball player, if you are a women's basketball player, all of these people who are, some of them are getting partial scholarships. Some of them are paying tens of thousands of dollars a year to go to school because the NCAA doesn't let them get a full scholarship. Baseball is a partial scholarship sport, for example. So you're on a quarter scholarship or you're getting book money. You're still paying $15,000 a year to go to Ohio State. Wouldn't it be okay for baseball pitchers to be able to earn a little bit of money coaching youth baseball pitchers? Like, this seems pretty win-win. And this is the kind of crap the NCAA is outlawing right now. So this is like, why on earth has it taken us this long to get to this point? And and this is one of these reasons. I mean, there are 1,000 reasons I want to go march on the NCAA headquarters and commit acts of moderate violence, but we're not going to do that because we don't need to do that because now this is here.
I don't know. I'd like to see you go a little bit crazy, a little bit falling down Tom Orr would be fun. Yeah, and Gene Smith said like players, Olympic athletes, and even baseball players, I'm sure the partial scholarship athletes will leave school with debt.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned like the in-state tuition, the out-of-state tuition, like the athletes who come from out of state to participate at Ohio State. It can be a crazy amount of debt, and then to outlaw them from trying to eliminate some of that debt while they're actually in school is just, it's just not right. I did think it was an interesting little twist, and I even believe Gene Smith a little bit when he said that this is also this is a learning opportunity for the athletes. And I'm like, well, you know what? It is. You're in college to learn. And here now you're learning about how to best use your name, image, and likeness. And I gotta admit, it's crafty. You can't say he's lying. You can't be like, oh, what are you talking about? Because there is a lot to learn and there is a lot to utilize. How do I best utilize my name, image, and like? How do I cash in? There's a lot of learning there. There's a lot of growth. Ohio State has put so much time in with the players. The players have put so much time in on their own brand,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just in the past 2 years before any of this. So there's more than just the Ohio State, the general requirements of your education, where you got to take so many of these courses, so many of these courses. This is very much like that, although it's more along with their major of athletics. For one,
Mm-hmm.
that's their partial major, but also what Gene Smith was saying is like explore endorsement opportunities that are in your wheelhouse. Like, what are you interested in? Explore that and use that to increase your education. So I thought it was really good. It's it's accurate. It's kind of sneaky. Not sneaky, but it's like I don't know the right word for it. It's a thing where you can't you can't deny it, and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, yeah, but okay, you make a good point. It's the Alonzo Mourning gif.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You had me right until you said GIF. It's GIF. GIF. That's all right. Yeah, it is. This is a great opportunity to learn how to manage money when you're managing like two fewer zeros on the end of the check. Like, okay, CJ Stroud is going to get a $500. CJ Stroud is going to get a $500 check for putting something up on Instagram. A year from now, if CJ Stroud is the starting quarterback for Ohio State, he's going to go from 38,000 Instagram followers to 300,000 Instagram followers. Okay, now he's got a $4,000 check he's getting, or a 5,000, or whatever the number is. You learn to manage that money. You learn, hey, this is. I mean, Gene Smith said he talked to one of the teams at Ohio State and said, like, who all, how many of you guys did your taxes, like, did your own taxes, and nobody's hand went up. And as someone who got to May 17th at about noon and went, oh crap. I was a little jealous of those people, but that's okay. That's a separate conversation. You learn to manage your money. You learn taxes. You learn all that stuff. This is all like real life application of things you're going to need to know, because when you get signed, when the Chicago Bears draft you 11th overall or whatever, you're getting a lot more than $50,000 from them. So now, okay, I have learned to manage my $50,000 at a time. I have learned what, how taxes work and all that kind of stuff. I'm getting some practical knowledge here. That sets me up for long-term success, because there are plenty of athletes who come from disadvantaged backgrounds and who are not used to, like, you should not just spend all that money on fancy cars and investing in your friend's car wash or your friend's restaurant or whatever. Like, you have to learn to manage your money. That is a very practical. I mean, this is like a real life Wednesdays every day kind of thing for Ohio State. They bring in people to tell teach these guys about this stuff, because this is not stuff that, people always complain that you don't teach financial literacy. No one teaches anyone to balance a checkbook in high school. This is the stuff you don't necessarily know coming out of high school, coming out of college. This is an opportunity to learn it, to do it with real life money. If you blow through your $5,000 that you earn from an Instagram post, like, that's okay. That is not a life-changing mistake, because you can probably do another Instagram post. You just have to, there is a long-term benefit here to these guys. And I think there's going to be a lot of schools that take that as that and try and teach guys to manage their money correctly. And then when you get to the NFL, I mean, what's the percentage of pro athletes that go broke after 10 years or something? It's some crazy number, like 50, 60% or more. Maybe you have an opportunity to not be the lottery winner who's broke 3 years later. You've learned to manage your money. You've learned what taxes are. You've learned what this actually means to you. You've learned about setting aside money, all that kind of stuff. Then you're maybe better positioned in real life, because the NCAA likes to pretend this is, oh, we're going pro in something other than sports, blah, blah, blah. We're teaching you about real life. Like, okay, this is real life Wednesdays every Wednesday or every day. Like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, and when you consider like the average, the NFL career, 4 or 5 years, at I just Googled 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So you're in college earning your time in college is roughly the same as in the NFL if you make it to the NFL on average. So this doubles your opportunity for even you'll be able to earn after the NFL as well. Although if you're only there for a couple of years, you're
Yeah.
it lessens.
And think about all the guys who went through college who then didn't turn into good pros. I mean, the first name that popped into my mind was Scooby Wright, who was a linebacker for Arizona, who was just a fantastic, just a legend in college, and just didn't translate to the pros. He probably could have made a whole bunch of money being the guy who had 900,000 tackles at Arizona. You probably could make some decent money off of that during college. At least have a little bit of a nest egg set up. Maurice Claret, like literally $0 as a professional football player because he went into the pros, had no idea how to manage money, took on a bad contract that was all incentives, and then, I mean, there's that if you have an opportunity to learn some of these lessons in college when you're dealing with smaller amounts, maybe you're set up to manage some of the bigger amounts later. And this is not, this is something that if you're a 45-year-old guy, it's just like, well, yes, I know how to manage my money. Like, think back to when you were 20. You were a moron. I know that because I was a moron. And Tony, I didn't know Tony when Tony was 20, but I can guarantee you Tony was a moron too. Like, we were all idiots. You spend money on dumb stuff. You don't know how to budget. Like, this is stuff that this is the school of hard knocks. Like, you learn this during, as you get older, as you kind of learn, you learn from your mistakes. Well, let's make these mistakes earlier. Let's make these mistakes at a time when you can still recoup your losses, all that kind of stuff. And you probably have a better support network around you. Like, Ohio State's probably going to have people around them to help with financial stuff like that. That's not part of this bill, but it's probably a resource they could provide. Like, this is all positive stuff in terms of setting these people up for long-term success and short-term success in terms of some of these people are not from great areas. If you can help someone move their parents from a bad area to a not so bad area, that's a good thing. If you can help, if this is the first person to go to college in their family, if you can help, hey, maybe I can pay to put, my smart cousin into college too. Like, these are all good things. These are positive things in communities. These are positive things in families. This is all good stuff. And it's just one of the many, many reasons the NCAA is just so utterly infuriating to me that they've spent the last 50 years going, no, we can't do this. Well, can you imagine? Can you imagine? We wouldn't have the purity of amateurism. Like, yeah, okay, great, good. That's the hill to die on. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we've talked before just about how much athletes would be able to help their families. I think back to Quiddy Pay, who from Liberia was in a refugee camp, and the night he gets drafted, they're interviewing him, and he said, "My mom is now officially retired." And you know what? That's something that could have happened sooner. And it's not even just retirement; it's just the they people will know, families will know, who need to know. Like, okay, the house is paid for this month. The car is paid for this month. I don't have to choose between the lights and health insurance or whatever. The relief, the lack of stress that some people don't understand the the financial stress of choosing what to pay for in a given month because it's just it's always, and so this would alleviate so much of that for so many people, and that's why I can't. That alone, it's like, well, I don't want to hear about how you're against it because it helps more than it could ever hurt anybody. And so what does this do to how does this hurt? So say Justin Fields, just continue to talk about it, makes $4 million as an Ohio State Buckeye. Are you done? Are you done with college football at that point? Is that too much? Are you just going to go back to watching the NFL where the guys are making 12 million?
Yeah, it's just that has always been. I have always found something very instructive in evaluating a situation where people are on different sides. To look at the arguments on both sides and go, literally every argument on the other side of this is really stupid, like really stupid. And it's like, well, I really enjoy watching college football because I know that these players are just there for the love of the game. And it's like, well, friend, let me tell you how recruiting works in some sections of the country. Like, it's just it's wonderful. It's wonderful that you can live in this fairy tale land, but in reality, all you're doing is keeping people from having access to resources that they are earning, that they are worth. Their value is far greater than the value of a scholarship, which is why all of the recruiting stuff that I just sort of hinted around, like a lot of that stuff happens. It's because they're worth more than the value of their scholarship. And here's you want to have another little bit of real talk. Some of these players have children, young children. Some of them aren't married. You are providing these people who have children the ability to take care of their children with more than just their little bit of book money and a little bit of extra cost of living. Like there are lives that are being benefited that are not just the people who you see running around on TV on Saturdays. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into this that, and it's very easy to say, well, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be having children before. Like this is how the world works. I'm deeply sorry to tell you, this is how the world works. Not everyone has made the same decisions as you have. That is okay. So now you're providing people an opportunity to take their talents, take their skills, and provide for their families. These are all good things. This is not something that you should be against. So, yeah, this is long overdue, and it's one of those things that's going to benefit a lot of people who right now kind of are in the spotlight for a while and then fade away and then kind of get forgotten. This is an opportunity to cash in and capitalize on that, that kind of small window when they're really a hot commodity. And, yes, Justin Fields is learning to manage his money before he gets more money. There are lots of people who are Ohio State players or Penn State players or Wisconsin players or Alabama players or whatever that are never bigger stars than they are when they're in college. Sam Ehlinger, I don't know what kind of pro quarterback Sam Ehlinger is going to be, but I have a feeling the peak of Sam Ehlinger's, earning potential is going to be when he was a starting quarterback of the Texas Longhorns. Why did we not let Sam Ehlinger make money off of his name, image, and likeness when he was the quarterback of the Texas Longhorns? This seems like a really fair thing, and you're not really costing anyone any money. So if someone wants to give Sam Ehlinger some money, let's let them give Sam Ehlinger some money. Seems only fair.
Thinking about the Tim Tebow Jaguars jersey.
Oh man.
And it's maybe the first time we've ever mentioned Tim Tebow. So we're not talking about him specifically. I'm just using him as an example where the top 5 items that he has his number on were the most sold items, the NFL shops or whatever. And to bring that back to college football, in the Ohio bill here, somebody was asking, well, who's going to get that money now, the jerseys? And I don't think anything changes with the jerseys because players can't put themselves on to Ohio State property. So they have no say in that. And I don't see universities changing anything with the way they do it. They're not going to put names on the back of the jerseys here because they can't pay the players. That's part of the bill. Universities, anybody with control of the players in terms of their eligibility, and the NCAA can't do it. They can't have any part in paying the players. So names are going to be staying off jerseys, and you'll have to figure out some other way. I'm sure CJ Stroud can have a red shirt that has Stroud on the back, but you better be careful with anything that looks like a block O or anything like that, because I do wonder how lenient the Ohio State licensing department will be, because they are not always lenient with even just the block O, in any type of block letters. There's probably, you're talking about how they will advise the players on some of these things. Probably the do's and don'ts for Donnie Don't. There's going to be a lot of don't do the block O. Don't do the Buckeye leaves. Don't do marijuana leaves.
Yes. Both very similar. Neither is allowed. Yes. Yeah. Why don't you just put a CJ Stroud jersey out there with gray shoulder stripes? That doesn't look anything like Ohio State's uniform. So there you go. Problem solved.
Too soon, Tom.
Too soon. Okay.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it just seems like there's a lot of ways for this to work very well for student athletes and not tread on Ohio State's intellectual property. Okay, just don't, you don't shoot your car commercial in front of the horseshoe. Fine. That's fine. There is plenty of, here's what I've learned. there's plenty of money to go around when it comes to Ohio State football. There's plenty of interest. There are plenty of businesses that would love to have their name associated with an Ohio State football player, Ohio State football program in some way. I'm going to be very interested to see, there's this thing about, conflicts of interest. And, if Ohio State has this, you can't conflict with, Ohio State is a Coke school. So could CJ Stroud endorse Pepsi? Like, I'm not sure if that's allowed or not. And that seems like that's something that they're going to kind of have to figure out, like exactly where the line is there. That there are X number of, car dealerships that give cars to Ohio State coaches. You can presumably be, and endorse another car dealer somewhere. I mean, the Senator Antoni, who was talking about his, his home district, which is Miamisburg, which is where Josh Myers is from, said like there'd be a lot of car dealers who'd want to give Josh Myers a car because Josh Myers is like a hometown hero. I was thinking about like Gavin Cupp. Gavin Cupp was a backup offensive lineman from Lipsick, Ohio, which is like end of the earth, and then go 10 miles past that up near where Tony's from in Northwest Ohio, rural Northwest Ohio. I bet there's a bunch of car dealers or diners or whatever that would have been thrilled to give Gavin Cupp $1,000 to go endorse their diner or, shoot a commercial for their car dealership or whatever. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure Cade Stover, if Cade Stover's here in time for this to all go through, like Cade Stover's going to have a tractor endorsement. Like it is going to happen. Like, and cool, good for Cade Stover. Go endorse a combine. Like whatever, man. Like, everyone's going to have their stuff. People may, are people going to be promoting people's albums, like record albums? Like maybe you're going to have stuff like that. Like everyone's got their own little, their own little possibilities here. And that's what's cool. Like this is not just Justin Fields is going to make money. This is all 85 guys in the Ohio State team, plus some walk-ons are going to make some money. And, you're not making $500,000 if you're the ninth wide receiver on the team, but if you're making $3,000, your life is better than it was before you made the $3,000. You have more resources available to you to solve whatever small problems $3,000 can solve. Like, cool, do it.
You mentioned like music, and I immediately think like Lil Nas X featuring Kyle McCord. Just to throw on some of that, some collaboration, and I think it would be fantastic. So the university is. They're hands off, but they're hands on. They're hands off in terms of putting this stuff together. Because I remember when we talked to Gene Smith in October of 2019 about this, and he's like, Ohio State has a network. I'm going to tell everybody, you know what Cameo is? Get on Cameo and have buy all of Ohio State players' Cameo. Have them pay them $100 to having everything set up. Really, this bill, that's not going to happen. I think it may eventually happen as the department gets figured out in terms of the Ohio State Department, how they're going to handle it. But there's no centralized database. There's no. It's very like all you have to do, all the players have to do is just let the university know within 15 days. Sign the deal. That's it. And then if there's some conflicts, they can go back and forth. And Tony did say like there's some workarounds for some conflicts of interest that they can. I tweeted it out on Monday, like a stripped down acoustic version of like a bill that I was expecting. I was expecting more regulations, although I guess not to get political, but Antoni is a Republican, so there are fewer regulations that that.
And here's the other thing: they want to get this passed by July 1st. So if you can write something this was 7 pages, like if you can write something that's 7 pages, like this is not the 2,500 page healthcare bill or whatever. Like you want to get this passed by July 1st, keep it simple, make it very straightforward. And he was like you said, someone asked him, hey, how confident are you this is going to get passed? It's like, we're going to get this passed. Because here's a little hint: everyone in Ohio is sort of in the business of making Ohio State as good as they can. Like if you are a politician in Ohio, you have a lot of constituents who are invested in Ohio State football being good. So if you are the guy who's going to be standing in the way of Ohio State football being able to do NIL stuff that people in Georgia or Alabama or Florida can do, like that's probably not good. I think that's going to be something that's going to come up in a political ad the next time you're up for election. So I think that you have to kind of take into account, like, you know, I would handicap this bill as extremely likely to pass in some format, because heaven help the people that stand in the way of Ohio State football being able to, compete on a level playing field with, half of the SEC. That just this does not seem like the hill anyone in the Ohio House or Senate is going to want to die on. So, and like I said, you can be from the political right, you can be from the political left. There's reasons for everyone to think that this is a really swell idea, and it's going to make your constituents happy if Ohio State is good at football and continues to be good at football. So I don't see any reason why this wouldn't pass. There may be modifications, there may be tweaks, there may be whatever, but by making it 7 pages, there's not that much stuff to modify. There's not that many conversations to have. Sit down. I mean, it took me 10 minutes to read the thing, maybe. I mean, it's like lickety split. Sit down, read it, figure it out. I mean, I'm sure I'm not all that familiar with the Ohio State House parliamentary process, but this seems like something you could probably knock out in a week or two and not have it be a huge deal.
I'm now imagining the deciding vote has it. Person casts a deciding vote to not pass the bill. So the bill gets struck down, and then the person running against that person in the next election or whatever, basically like showing players who don't have money, and then you've got the Sarah McLachlan music going, playing over the footage, and it's like this person kept food out of their mouths, their pockets, and that would be fairly accurate. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to pay the players to be in the commercial because this person has struck it down. Get some tweaks, but you can get some actors.
Well, and here's the other thing that makes me think that this is 100% likely to pass. As Senator Antoni pointed out, Michigan has already passed this. So do you want to be the Ohio lawmaker who keeps Ohio behind Michigan in terms of what, the access that college football teams have to good college football players? I'm not sure that's I'm not sure that's going to be a winning campaign issue.
Just a couple more things before we go. Agents are allowed, so they'll be brokering a lot of it. They'll be handling stuff. Somebody asked me, how does this impact high school players? There is nothing in this regarding high school players. There is some stuff in the NCAA's proposal about prospective student athletes, as Smith said, but nothing here allows any of that. But again, this is where Ohio State will have, I think guys will be able to come in right away, like sign your letter of intent, and then the offers start coming in. It's kind of like if you've ever been in a car accident and the accident report gets posted, your mailbox gets flooded with all kinds of lawyers and stuff. It's going to be exactly like complete junk mail. Hey, do you want to endorse K Jewelers? Hey, do you want sort of stuff? So I don't think they're going to have to work that hard. And plus, they'll have agents. They don't have to, but they'll have agents doing that for them. And then Ohio State, one of the things they would do is just, discuss, like, is this a good idea for you? Does this help your image? Does this help your brand? Is this a quick buck versus a long buck, which is better? And whatever the player wants to go with, as long as it's within the parameters of the bill, Ohio State's going to allow it. It's almost the Wild West in the sense that there are so few rules, but I also think fences will come in just based on the market.
Yeah, I mean, you do have. I mean, you've talked about Ohio State and their brand you thing, where like Chris Olave is CO2, and you're building your personal brand, and part of that is, what do you want your brand associated with? Do you want your brand associated with good things or bad things or shady things or questionable things, or like this is? And if you associate your brand with something, I think there are going to be some hard learning lessons involved probably at some point too, where someone is going to associate their personal brand with something that is not necessarily great. And then all of a sudden they're not going to get the opportunity to go endorse the new apartment complex on campus, the new car dealership in town, whatever. Like, someone is going to, at some school, cost themselves a future endorsement opportunity by associating their personal brand with something negative, or by doing something stupid off the field. Like, this is, you want more incentive to not do something stupid off the field. Like, here it is. If you get suspended from the team for doing something stupid during spring ball, like, okay, guess what? You're not getting endorsements now because no one wants their name associated with you. So there's a little bit of personal incentive here to stay on the straight and narrow and make good choices. And again, like this is all stuff you've got to figure out at some point. Like I think we all probably did stupid stuff in college at some point, and so this is all a wonderful opportunity to learn the lessons that sometimes took people years after college to figure out. You can learn them now. Learn them the easy way, like through others' mistakes, rather than having to learn them the hard way through your own.
I am interested to see what are the lengths of some of these deals. Like I'm sure some stuff is like, here's a car now, just for the next 3 months, we'll need you 4 times to talk about it. But like, I don't know that you can give an 18-year-old a 12-month contract, because that's, you're gambling a little bit that nothing will go wrong, or that that'll pay out. So, 3-month deal, or it's per post on Instagram. That's easy enough. So I'm looking forward to this new world that is going to happen, and to see how it evolves, and how it's like, why wasn't this the case forever?
Yeah.
And that was one of the questions. Some of the kept coming up, like, what has taken so long? As Gene Smith told, I think, to maybe I forget exactly. Like, we've evolved, and we weren't always ready to do this. And that's been the case. You can say that about all kinds of things. Why didn't you do this earlier? It's like, well, we were stupider then. Or, we hadn't, we were caught up on other things. We're smarter now. We see more things now. There are more opportunities now, and to limit stuff. It's just like, why?
Well, and here's the answer to that. And I think that this is something that they didn't necessarily get into, but why did you not do this 20 years ago? Like Senator Antoni said, well, 20 years, 10 years ago, I was still a student at Ohio State. That's why I didn't present legislature in front of the Ohio State House. But 20 years ago, what were these conferences making on TV deals? Like, if you're making $5 million a year on TV deals, that's one thing. If you're making $50 million a year, it's like, okay, like there's clearly plenty of money here to go around for everyone. When, John Cooper when he got fired, he was making $600,000 a year. Ryan Day's making like 10 times that amount. Like, the world has changed. The game has changed. The media environment has changed. The budgetary amounts we're talking about have changed. A lot of this has changed. It was maybe slightly more defensible 20 years ago to say, okay, well, there's not enough money to go around for everything. That's not the case anymore. Like, very clearly not the case. I did like your idea that someone would, disgrace themselves and, not be able to hold an endorsement for more than 3 months because they're, a young, impressionable. Which player do you think will be the first head breakfast coach for Ohio State after the NIL goes through?
Probably a lineman.
That's smart. Yeah.
Maybe Paris Johnson.
I'm thinking Tyleik Williams. Tyleik Williams has real strong head breakfast coach energy for me.
One last thing for me. I think the final questions of the day came from a reporter asking, how do you expect Division II and III schools to pay the upkeep on this with the administration and their offices? And the answer is basically, I don't think there's going to be a lot of paperwork there. It's matters of scale here. And I think if you have a Division II or Division III athlete who can make some, the offices there should be able to handle all of that paperwork, or because it's just, here's a notice, I'm going to be doing this in 15. Okay.
Ta-da! Yeah, I mean, this is a problem that solves itself, because if you are a big enough school to have so much interest in your players, you have enough resources to handle all the paperwork for those players. If you are a Division School 3 school, like Denison University is right in town here for me, I cannot fathom that there will be more than 1 or 2 Denison football players or Denison basketball players or whatever who get endorsement deals to go endorse like Mexican place downtown. Like, maybe cool. Like, maybe you're the quarterback at the football team and you really like the Vietnamese place in town. Like, great. Hi, I'm quarterback Johnny Mattress for My Chow Vietnamese. Like, cool. Like, absolutely. that does not seem like there's going to be just thousands and thousands of those deals floating around. Like that's just just realistically, this is a problem that solves itself. So like I know again, like I know this goes back to think about how stupid the objections to the questions are, to the proposal is. That tells you how good the proposal is. If that's the objection, like cool, this is a problem that is just, and you know what? If you're the athletic director of a D2 or a D3 school and this is just altogether too much for you, like cool, go pro in something other than sports, brother. Like that, this is not a reason to keep players from being able to make money. Like if you can't handle it, I'm sure there's someone else who can. Go sell cars for a living. That's cool. Like go sell real estate, like whatever you want to do. That is not a reason to keep people from making money. Like if you can't do it, that's fine. We'll find someone else to do your job.
And if you've got your Division II school and you've got 50 players who are able to make money, maybe you should be Division 1. You must be pretty good.
Mount Union might be able to do that. Mount Union has so many more resources than a typical D3 school. Like again, this is a problem that scales itself.
I think that will do it. Tom, you got anything else before we go?
No. If you want to hear some more specifics on this this whole proposal, the Tuesday morning scoop, I took kind of a different tack on it. Just interviewed, went through the interviews with Senator Antoni and Gene Smith, and just put together clips from them, like answering some of the questions, just like laying it out there, like no editorialization, just kind of answering the questions straight up. So if you want to kind of hear from both of those guys, you can hear that on the Tuesday morning scoop, and then we left our editorializing for here. I don't think I shared too many opinions. Did I share any opinions on the show? I don't feel like I did. Not too many, right?
Well, I mean,
is feckless turds an opinion, or is that really more just a fact? I feel like that's a fact.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's got very many of the same letters as fact.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So,
I think as long as half of your letters, have the same type of letters as fact, like, it's certainly not a lie.
It is certainly not a lie. That is true.
So I think that'll do it. I want to thank everybody for listening. Thanks for watching. This is a really interesting topic to me. I was looking forward to the show today because, again, the bill is so simple. I understood it, which is fantastic. I thought, you know what? Thank you, sir, for writing this in an English that I can understand. That was good. And we'll talk to you guys again Thursday. And good one.